Hello riders, welcome to Cycle Training with Trinity. My name's Trinity and today we have a simple VO2 max workout. So go ahead, get settled on your bike and let's get started. All right, taking these first 5 minutes here to just start moving your legs on the bike. If it's first thing that you're doing in the morning is getting on the bike, then good for you. You're starting your day out strong. I'm coming onto the bike after a decently long work day. So in any case, just taking the first few minutes, telling our bodies that we're going to be working out today and just doing it very gently. I know there are a lot of workouts out there that are 30-minute workouts, 40-minute workouts, and they kind of jump right into it. Super great if you're crunched for time. But since we have an hour, wanting to take all of the steps that we possibly can for our body's longevity, for our muscles, just giving our bodies the chance. But as we're taking the time here just to be on the bike and getting ourselves ready for the ride, we have a 6x3 VO2 max workout today. And what that means is that we will have 6 sets, spending 3 minutes in that VO2 max zone, or zone 5 if you use the FTP framework. Each time after we spend 3 minutes there, we'll spend 3 minutes in our tempo zone, or zone 3, to kind of give ourselves a bit of a break and just get more practice in a different zone. And speaking of different zones, at the very end, we'll have a 7-minute finisher of an endurance flush. So getting to spend time in zone 2. And I'll be quite honest, I'm looking forward to spending time there. It'll definitely be a nice way to ease into the cool down after the work that we've done. So ultimately, with 6 sets of 3 minutes in the VO2 max zone 5, that should be 18 minutes that we're spending working out in that zone today. Each minute that we spend helps us get stronger, helps eventually to bring up that FTP, or the work that we can put out for a full hour. And I'm gonna call this video really good, especially if you're a beginner on the bike. There's not a lot of variation here. We're not doing anything super complicated. We're taking the time to find our zones, getting back into those zones, and building our endurance and stamina when we're there and spending more and more time there. So between the graphic I showed on the screen and the workout breakdown I have behind me, we're gonna take it one step at a time. But for this one, you can kind of just turn your brains off and let the intervals do the mental work for you. But in just a few more minutes, we're gonna start ramping up. The next time we change our gear, we're gonna be getting into zone 2, just a little bit of support under our feet, and also getting ourselves more familiar for where we're gonna be at the very end of this ride. But trust me, once we get to the end, you'll feel pretty confident that you know what work and non-work feels like. And then after this ramp up, we're gonna do a few just spin-ups to get our legs fully fleshed out, ready to go, and do a few high cadence intervals before hopping right into things. The last thing I'll mention about these sets is I like to give us the opportunity to stand when possible. So when we're in that VO2 max zone, that'll be a prime time to stand. I'll probably alternate minute by minute just to give you guys some variation, but you can choose the intervals that work best for you. Ultimately, I'll talk about how to find our zones, both seated and standing, help us figure that out with our first few rounds, and it's gonna be good. You guys already did the hard part today, which is getting on the bike. And so now it's just gonna be adding a few gears, trying out a few different speeds, and then getting more used to how it feels to do work on the bike. But I'm certainly appreciating these first few minutes. My brain is still coming out of work mode, coming into a different kind of work mode. But we're getting ready to take on this workout. In just a few seconds, I'm gonna have us find a nice and easy 80 RPM because that's where we're starting our workout today. So if you have a cadence meter on your bike, go ahead and get your legs up to speed there. And once you have that, add enough gear until you feel just a bit of support under your feet. This is starting to engage your legs, starting to engage your entire body, truly letting that body temperature and all of your muscles start to get warmed up. Ultimately, we're not trying to break a sweat right here just yet. We're looking for an easy 3 to 4 out of 10. Sometimes I throw those numbers out, but I like to give the reminder that a 4 out of 10 is less than our halfway mark. If 5 out of 10 is halfway, where things neither feel easy nor hard, 4 is below that point. So even at the top level of this zone, things should still feel pretty easy. So give yourselves a few extra seconds to get that figured out. You'll probably start to feel your bodies warming up, particularly in the winter time. Whenever I'm in this part of our house, it gets pretty cold in the winter and I keep our house cold anyway. But it definitely takes me a few minutes to start to get my blood pumping enough where I even take off my sweatshirt. Fortunately for now, it's still summer. I'm in the clothes I want to be wearing, but I'm pretty sure in a few more months, I'll be resisting the urge to wear that extra layer hopping on the bike. But as we're going here, just keeping a quick eye on that cadence. Make sure it's not going anywhere too crazy. As we work on our openers in the next minute, we're just gonna be doing 3 sets of 30 seconds at high cadence. We have 4 minutes there total, so minute 1 will be 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 30 off, 30 on, 30 off, and that last minute, we're just gonna be able to reset, get ready for that first VO2 max interval. But nothing to do there just yet. Just outlining what we're going to be getting into. But when you do start to think about that, because we're gonna be speeding up our legs, we're going to want a few extra gears to support so that our legs aren't flying crazy out of the pedals. So with about 15 seconds out, maybe start to play with your gear. If you want to add it preemptively, you can do that. And let's go ahead, just for a few seconds, start bringing up your legs. This should not feel difficult still, but we are getting into a higher zone. The effort added from both the gear for support as well as through the speed. The range here is left pretty open, but definitely getting into the upper layers of what your body's comfortable with, spin-wise. Just giving our bodies those few seconds to speed up, and we'll bring it down. Just slow your legs down, do your best not to touch the gear. We'll be back here 2 more times as we're getting warmed up. Sometimes I just keep talking, and I have to make sure I don't miss the cue for you guys. But do some reflection, see if you need extra gear, or if you had too much, take your gear off. And we're getting ready to get into the next set. Let's go ahead, speed up again. Just start to bring your knees up toward your chest, getting those full circles, full rotations on the pedals. And this is where that heat starts to build. Giving our body nice and easy chances to start getting our blood pumping, moving through our whole body for a few seconds. Keep it up, and we'll take it down. Just on your legs, 10, maybe 20 RPM. just for a light catch of your breath. Your body should have hardly had the chance to lose breath so far, but just kind of starting from scratch. And we'll have one more of these coming up in just a few seconds. Make any of those final tweaks and adjustments so that you feel good going into this. And let's go. Adding a little bit of speed here. Nice. Feeling your quads start to work as they're pushing around. Calves nice and solid. Holding your feet relatively in place on those pedals. And just maintaining this nice, slightly elevated cadence will be here today in this workout. But for now, slow it down. You can take an extra gear off if you like, just for this next minute or so, as we collect ourselves and get ready for our first set. Now, we are going to be jumping right into it. We start out 3 minutes at our VO2 max at zone 5. The key that I usually give to people is that whatever your zone 3 is, or even zone 2, just add about 1 gear or 1 effort level until you've counted up to 5. So if you know your zone 2, add until you get to zone 3, zone 4, zone 5, and you should feel those distinct effort levels. If that is a totally foreign concept to you, do not worry. This entire first set coming up is all about figuring out what gears we need, and we are going to be making it a bit more interesting as well by varying our speed too. So for this first set that's coming up, we're going to be starting it at 80 RPM. And so with these last few seconds, if you want to adjust your legs to that speed so that we're all starting on the same page, I'm just going to be starting at zone 1 for simplicity. If you know your zones, go ahead and add them. But from this easy gear, from zone 1, I'm going to add a gear to get to zone 2, gear to get to zone 3, gear to get to zone 4, and gear to get to zone 5. Now my trainer's a bit wonky. I'm probably going to make a few adjustments. But as you're adding your gear, keep an eye on your cadence. We are keeping it right at 80 RPM. And that's going to be our goal for these first 3 minutes. And for this first set, I know I'd said I'd give you guys the opportunity to stand at some point, but for this very first one, the theme is just finding it. Finding those watts that you need, finding that effort level, and that's best at least shown sitting on the bike. But as you're making your adjustments, as you're adding gear, taking off gear, telling yourself that you're looking for that effort level of an 8 out of 10. This is definitely now the higher side of that scale. And pretty quickly, we start to feel it. Breathing harder. Your legs might still be waking up. I'm pretty sure mine still are. So giving yourself that grace, giving yourself this entire full first set to get used to this effort. And as we've just crossed the halfway point of these first 3 minutes, I'll give you the secret to doing the standing effort whenever you're ready. As you're looking down on your bike, if you have a power meter, you'll see the power or watts that you're putting out on the bike in this zone 5 at your 8 out of 10 effort. Looking at that, that is your power for zone 5 regardless of if you're seated or if you're standing. So if you want to, and if you're ready for it this first round, you can add a few extra gears for support and then stand up and out of the bike. Your body will move slower, but that additional gear will add that resistance that you need to get you back to that same exact power that we found sitting down. We only have 30 seconds left here, so I won't be standing this round. Just trying to walk us through how to find those numbers, start making those adjustments as your body comes up to that full effort. Whew, and we do feel that effort starting to catch up with us. And now we're going to take off just 2 gears. We'll take off 2 levels of effort until we get down to tempo zone or zone 3. Zone 3 is an effort level 5 out of 10. So already, right away, feeling that ease from underneath our legs, but our legs aren't moving faster. This entire first set, we're keeping that same speed, just taking off a bit of that resistance. Nice. You should already be feeling better. And even here for our zone 3 work, you can continue to make those adjustments. Nothing about this first set is expected to be perfect, and nothing about any of our sets today is expected to be perfect. It's all about getting better and improving with each round. Nice. I like that these sets are only 3 minutes long. They're kind of easy to keep track of. If you didn't have a good set, we're going to be resetting, switching our effort, and then coming back to it not too long after. So these short and quick sets are super great for giving yourself a fresh slate regularly. And that's another reason why I think it's great for a beginner level if you're new to the bike or still figuring out what your effort levels feel like. It's a very forgiving workout. What I do want to make sure of is that our pace is being kept consistent across efforts. For this entire first set, which we only have a minute left in set 1, we're keeping that same pace, 80 RPM, just like we did with the VO2 max. And because this is all about practice and repetition and giving ourselves that opportunity to kind of fine tune where our zones are, set 2 will be the exact same speed. So now you'll have the opportunity, the true opportunity, to say, okay, I know what my watts are, I know what my power is sitting, I know what I need when I'm standing as well. And so once you have that number, either you've already memorized it or you're gonna find it again in just a few seconds. You can get there first, then transition to the standing effort. I'm probably gonna do the first minute seated, the middle minute standing, and last minute seated again, just to help us get back to that effort, make the transition, and then reset before our next tempo effort. But all right, here we go. Set 2, same cadence, 80 RPM, don't change a thing. Just add enough gear until you feel that effort level come back. If you have a power meter, looking at that number, seeing that it comes back up, right back to where we left it in the last set, and settling in here. That extra resistance is the big piece as to why it feels like our body's working harder. Again, we haven't changed our pace from zone 3 to zone 5. What we have changed is the resistance, the amount of gear that we put into the bike. That's pushing up against the bottoms of our feet and ultimately pushing against our legs. And this set is not too different from the first. I wanted to give us a lot of credit and leeway as far as figuring things out, but this one's all about settling. And I realize I have gone past my timer cue for standing, so I'll do it at the bottom of this minute, but give yourselves the last few seconds to check on those watts if you haven't already. Now I'm gonna add extra gear and get up out of the saddle. That extra gear is for support under your legs because now we have our full body weight pushing down through those pedals, giving ourselves extra force from our bodies. And we want that extra gear to support our feet from the bottom. The balance there, because again, more gear usually means more power, but we've slowed ourselves down because we're not going to be pumping out 80 RPM when we're standing on the bike. You might, but it's a bit fast. But just letting your body slow down. And once you're comfortable up here, take a few seconds to check on your power again. Seeing if it matches up, give or take 10 RPM from that number where we were before. And I'm gonna go ahead, take a seat here just to reset in this zone 5 before we transition to zone 3. It doesn't feel any easier coming back down here. We're still doing our VO2 max effort. Heart rate still elevated, but in a few seconds, we'll take off enough gear to go back down to that 5 out of 10 and zone 3. Here we go. Taking off just enough gear, maintaining that steady cadence, and looking for that effort that is neither easy nor hard. For sure, it'll feel easier than what we were just doing, our zone 5 sitting and standing effort. But our legs are still working here. You should have some measurable amount of gear on your bike or on your spin bike, whatever you're on today. Because we don't have any true zone 1 recoveries for this workout, where we are right now with zone 3 is a fantastic time to take in some water. So feel free to do that. And by now, your breathing should be back under control if we ever got it super elevated in that zone 5 effort. And just taking a quick minute to keep pushing through those pedals, but a minute to yourself. All right, about halfway through here. Hopefully you're feeling much, much better. And my hope is more confident in these VO2 max intervals that we're doing. Our third set is going to be more about executing on the bike and starting to work on those finer details. We've done all the figuring out that we need to do. We've done all the switching and the swapping, and now we're starting to make it look good and also feel confident about these efforts as well. I am going to throw in another something interesting at you guys, because we're now at set 3. We're going to change up our pace just a bit. This next set and these next 2 sets really are going to be at a 90 RPM cadence. So start thinking about that. If you want to, a few seconds out, start to bring your legs up to speed. I'll cue for that. But we are just going to be seeing how that same effort feels at different speeds. What we will need for that, with extra speed, will be less gear. So if you memorize your gear from last time, maybe try starting 1 gear lower to see if that exchange in power makes up for it. Let's go ahead, bring up our legs to 90 RPM. You'll find that this extra speed already adds back a bit of power. And we're going to take these first few seconds to settle into this. Add those gears that you need to add. Trying to figure out my own bike here. But like I mentioned, this time kind of just flies by. These 3-minute segments are super quick. I realized too, didn't even give you the time to speed up before the interval came, but we're here now. And truly, in a few seconds, I'm gonna add our standing gear and get us up and out of the saddle. So find your power, make sure that number matches up. Now we can add our extra gear for support and get up and out of the bike. For these standing efforts, because our speed comes down, we're not gonna expect a lot of change set to set, because I'm keeping up at 60 RPM every time we're standing. So there's not a ton of adjustment or variety with the gears that we'll need when we're standing up. But it's kind of nice to have that. Something familiar to come back to. But quick check on your power here if you're standing. Again, standing is not a requirement. It's just an opportunity to get up and out of our seats. Try out this different effort level. And we're here for just a few more seconds. Excellent. Taking a seat here. Take off that climbing gear. But we're not done with our work just yet. Get your legs back up to 90 RPM. And we are pedaling. Come on. Still at zone 5. Consistent pressure. Make sure you continue to breathe through the rest of this effort. I usually start to feel short of breath after a good long climb. So bring your focus back to breath, at least for a few seconds, to make sure we can reach the end of this interval. When we get down to zone 3, our tempo zone, we are just taking off enough gear to get down there. You can make that transition now. Do not change your speed. Keep that quicker pace, moving underneath your feet, and telling yourself that at this point you know what to do. You know what that change feels like. And just fighting that big temptation here to totally take all those gears off. We're still working. We're just not doing zone 5 work for these next few minutes. But hey, after we finish up this set, that's 3 out of 6. We'd be halfway done. I know we have a little bit of stuff at the end, but that's relatively easy to the work that we're doing here. So I mentioned that this would be a relatively brain off kind of ride, or at the very least, beginner friendly, not having to think about a pyramid interval or weird structures that change a bunch throughout the entire workout. 6 sets, same effort, just changing up the pace to keep it interesting. Set 4, as we get into it, we'll still be at 90 RPM. Again, we should not have left 90. We're keeping it exactly where it is right now. But the only thing that's really changing here is your mindset. Building that confidence, building that smoothness of transition. If you guys can still remember our first set, there was a lot of figuring out, okay, how many gears do I need? Am I still going at the right pace? How do I feel on the bike? Now we've been warmed up for a while, and we've made this transition several times. And especially since we're already at speed here, you'll pretty much just need to add 2 levels of effort. Might be 2 gears, might be a few gears, depending on what bike that you're on. Last thing I'll mention here, I've cued us for 90 RPM. If 90 is too fast for you, or just not a speed that you're gonna hold today, totally fine. Pick a speed that you will hold, As long as you're putting out that level of effort, that 8 out of 10 or the 5 out of 10, you're getting a good workout. No question about it. A few seconds left here. Start thinking about your gear, whatever pace that you've chosen for today. We're just gonna make that transition. Get into VO2 max, zone 5. Whew. Feeling that push, 8 out of 10. I'm doing my best to watch the clock so I don't miss our cue again. But as we're thinking about this one, this entire set, it is about breathing. We've crested the halfway point in the number of sets that we're doing, and totally understand the urge, the desire to just kind of let yourself go, to be hanging onto the handlebars and just grinding through the set. See if you can hold yourself up. See if you can maintain control of your breathing. I'll stand in a few seconds. If you need this set to sit, perfectly fine, go for it. If you've been standing, great. But I'm gonna go ahead, add some gear, and get up and out of the saddle. In these next few seconds, we feel those deeper breaths start to come. Slower legs, but they're burning just a bit more with that extra resistance to push through. The one thing that helps me a lot is just thinking about one step at a time. A lot of times when I'm in a workout, whether it's running or doing weight reps, I just tell myself one more. You can do one more pull-up. You can go one more mile. Here, you can do one more step up the hill. And just keep telling yourself that. Because for the work that we're doing right now, I know you absolutely can make it through these next 5 seconds. So push through. Nice. We'll take a seat. Just take off the standing gear. Back to 90 RPM, don't let it slip. Come on. And we're maintaining that same level of work. And even though we're not doing our standing climb now, you can tell yourself, one more level of effort. So keep it going. I think I said one more level of effort. I meant to say one more minute. I think I heard our doorbell ring, and that might have pulled me out of the moment for just a second. But for all of us, we have just about 10 seconds left. So keep on breathing through this effort. Hold yourself nice and strong. And we're gonna take off just enough gear, no change in pace. And our legs are still moving. 90 RPM, zone 3. We have 2 more reps after this one. I'll give you guys a few seconds to let your heart rates come down just a bit, get some water, and then I'll prep you for these last 2 sets. Okay, feeling a bit better. Find your cadence if you ever left, still 90 RPM for now. Enough gear that we're feeling that 5 out of 10. And by now we've been here enough times that we can even memorize the power that we put out at these levels if you have a power meter. If not, just feeling that effort in your legs, doing a better and better job each time, evaluating, identifying, coming back to that same level of effort. You guys are doing great. These last 2 sets, as you might have predicted, are our 100 RPM sets. So the fastest that we've gone and the fastest that we will go today. But again, doesn't mean that it's harder. We're still doing efforts in zone 5 and zone 3. Nothing is changing about that. The thing that you might find more difficult is that we've been switching a lot of that effort from power, like brute force, pushing through our legs, a lot of that strength work. We're shifting that to our cardiovascular system. When our bodies were moving slower, period. Our hearts and our lungs didn't have to work quite as hard to get our legs moving around. That was all muscle. But now we're moving faster. Our legs feel lighter because they have less resistance on them. But our breathing will probably pick up just a bit. You may feel your heart rate go up even just a bit higher. So just preparing for that. We are a few seconds out. Trying to be good about cueing you guys for the change in pace here. But at this point, if you want to add those last 10 RPMs, pulling your feet up to your chest here, getting that cadence first, and then adding those final amounts of gear that you need to get back to that zone 5 effort. That's typically how I cue for these changes. Pace first, gear second. So just taking a quick look at your power meter, that should reflect your zone 5 power range. And just taking some time to settle into this one. Nice. You guys are feeling like pros now. You've done it 4 times. Just doing it the last 2 times here. I felt my breathing pick up certainly this first minute. And speaking of first minutes, I'm going to transition to the standing climb. Nice. For this one, what I'd love for you guys to do and to practice for this set is just visualizing the workout. Visualizing that at zone 5, at our VO2 max effort, we're putting in serious work. And you might be thinking, Trinity, what on earth are we doing putting out this work? When would I ever need it? So there are a lot of hills that exist in the world, and especially where I live, lots and lots of hills that take more effort to climb than when you're on flat ground. Speaking of flat ground, I'll go ahead and take a seat, take off just enough gear, and get back to that faster cadence. Because zone 5 VO2 max is a higher level effort, you can think of yourselves either climbing a hill, that's a slower paced effort, so closer to what we did at the beginning of today's workout, or what we're doing right now with these faster speeds. We're on flat ground, but we're trying to make up some yards here. We might have somebody in front of us, we're trying to catch them, so we've added a bit of speed, but we also have that extra gear on. So putting out this effort for just a few more seconds, then we can take off just a few gears for zone 3. Let's do it. Tempo work here. Whew. Using this as a bit of recovery, but our bodies are still moving pretty quick. Each set has the same RPM. So keeping your legs as close to 100 RPM as you can. And feeling that more relaxed breathing come back. You may be able to hear it in my lungs. Oh, that last set got to me. But the good news is, after these next few minutes, just one more full set. 3 minutes of zone 5, 3 minutes of zone 3. Then I get to spin it out, do some endurance for those last few minutes, and then wrap things up. So you guys are doing fantastic. Still working on the visualization here. Usually in zone 3, that's our tempo zone, but I like to say that you're going at a conversational pace. We can be going at 100 RPM and spinning our legs pretty quickly, but feeling like we have enough control over our breathing that if we had a buddy next to us, we could chat with them if we really wanted to. Not saying that is what you want to do on a bike ride. Oftentimes I feel like I get into the zone, and even when I'm riding with a big group and there's lots of people, I'm just like, oh, don't talk to me. I'm trying to bike. Even if it's not necessarily that hard. So if you're that way, I totally understand, but just trying to give yourselves a benchmark for what these efforts might feel like in your body. We should have control at all times, but feeling our overall level of effort come down to the point where we say, okay, I have enough in me that I could do something else if I needed to. Just a few seconds left here. Then we get into our last set. Same exact pacing. Nothing will change with how fast we're going. And I'm gonna do my best to stand at the same intervals that I've been talking about. But it's using this last set to work on your mental focus. That effort of, I'm almost there, and just pushing through that effort. So let's go ahead. Make sure your legs are at the right cadence, but then adding on the gears that you need, because we are back in zone 5. I talk about sweat too much in my videos, I think, but if you're in a room without a fan blowing directly at you, you should feel warm. You should feel like you're sweating. That's, I think, one of the major downsides to not riding outside is that everything just feels warmer. The air's not moving at your face. You don't feel it, the wind blowing up against you. But even with that, we are still going to climb. So I'm getting ready to add my gears, put them on, and let's go. One more minute of climbing here for the entire workout. If you were debating on standing and haven't done it yet, I know you can do it, come on. Just thinking about 1 foot at a time. Sometimes I like to count in breaths as well, because breaths will take longer than rotations or even seconds. So I think about breath out, breath in, breath out. I tell myself to take 5 deep breaths and see how far that gets me. You'd be surprised at how much time passes focusing on breathing. But we are almost there. Last few seconds, come on. Keep pushing your feet down. And we'll take a seat. Take off that extra gear. Not time to take off your fast cadence just yet. 100 RPM for these last few minutes. And because you've already set your gear, your speed is the only remaining variable. So if you have one gear in place and you see or you feel your pace start to come down, that's also taking away effort levels. So to get a good VO2 max workout, let's keep that pacing up as close to 100 RPM as we can. And pretty soon, we're gonna take off a few gears to make this pace feel easier overall with this lighter effort. All right, take off a gear, take off how many gears you need to get to zone 3. Keep finding those deep breaths to settle yourself. And I have not been drinking enough water during this workout, so this is a good time for that too. All right, last few minutes of these higher effort zones, and then it's all literally downhill from here. After this segment, we just have 7 minutes of an endurance flush. That effort will be at zone 2. So just like our ramp up towards the start of this workout, 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10 effort. And another bonus is that you get to choose your speed here. 80, 90, 100 RPM. That's typically my suggested range for realistic cycling. But you can always go slower, which would have you add more gear, or faster just means less gear. So start to think about what kind of gear you'd like to add or take away, and what kind of pace you're going to want to hold. We still have a bit of time left here, so if your mind drifted, bring it back to 100 RPM. Keep those legs cycling over each other, one foot after the other. We may be sweaty, we may start to get tired. We're in the final shot of hard work for this workout. And even now, we're hanging out at a 5 out of 10. So we should continue to feel better in comparison to those zone 5 intervals. Nice. I always feel better after sweating just a bit after a work day. I feel like in some ways it clears my head, like I'm thinking with more clarity. And then similarly, all the worrisome thoughts are gone somewhere in the ether. So I hope you're feeling good too, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is. But so go ahead, let's get into that pace that you've chosen for yourself. I'm gonna get down to 90 RPM and then adjust the gear for whatever you need. If you stuck to 100 RPM, you probably just need to take off one gear to get your effort down. If you took off Cadence, you might have been able to keep the same amount of gear and your Cadence brought down your effort level. But however you're doing it, if you have that power meter, use it as a reference. Otherwise, use that effort level, the RPE, perceived effort scale, and get yourself to that 3 or 4 out of 10. This is kind of just time for you. I really like having an endurance flush in a workout. Don't do it that often because a lot of times we're doing other zones. But when we get to do it, I think it's particularly great. It lets us keep on some extra speed underneath our feet and just a little bit of support. And it's overall building that core baseline of our foundational fitness. If you've watched any of my endurance videos, we do a lot of zone 2 in those. Those are typically longer videos as well. So building up that longer form endurance And so getting to incorporate those kinds of efforts into a workout like this is both great for within an hour, getting to measure the scale of efforts. We were up as high as zone 5, we're now as low as zone 2. So getting to compare those efforts within a single ride, I think is always great, build experience on the bike. And additionally, the work that it does for us physically as well is amazing. Our heart rates are lower, our legs feel less resistance on them, but they're still getting that time in the saddle, still getting that time to spin out. And so taking the opportunity to gain the strength here and gain the experience as well. This is a longer interval, and I trust that you guys have done whatever finagling or adjusting that you wanted to do to be here comfortably. So I might just give you the next minute or so to yourselves to kind of be wherever you need to be, space out, space in, and then I'll check back on you guys in just a minute. How you doing? Bring it back in. Prompts to take a quick check at your cadence. If you slowed down, if you sped up, let's bring it back in for these last few minutes of work here. My hope is that you're feeling entirely better from what I put you through earlier in this workout. If you needed to, you should be in a place here where you can breathe in and out through your nose. You don't have to be. Doing that on a bike's kind of hard. But that's kind of the form and control that I'm looking for in this effort. But otherwise, we're still keeping a nice relaxed posture on the bike. I know we're almost there, but worth checking in on. But just letting your seat stay squarely in the saddle. That's another piece of practice I wanted to work in here, was just time in the saddle, giving our backside some of that endurance. But your legs know what they're doing. They're going around as fast as they need to. And your shoulders and your arms are nice and relaxed. It is much easier to focus on relaxed form and relaxed body when we're at a lower effort level. And so a great time to check in on that if some of those zone 5 efforts got you kind of tense. Whew, just resetting. Letting your legs do all the work here for this last minute or so. And pretty soon, we'll get to take all these gears off. We'll truly be coasting as we cool down. I'll go ahead and mention this now because we will get into cool down. But if you can, I'd love for you to just take those extra few minutes to let your legs spin freely after we take off the gears here. Your body's maybe feeling pretty good after getting down to this level, but just letting your body really gradually come down from the workout. If you have another workout that you're planning to pair with this one, feel free to jump to it as we're doing the cool down if your body's still warm. But otherwise, if this is the end of your workout for the day, just giving yourselves the time to truly bring it down. With that being said, you made it. So go ahead, take off the rest of your gears that you had on. We're just free spinning here, legs are moving super freely, little to no resistance under them. And bringing down any of those residual effort levels for these last few minutes. The great part about finishing up with an endurance zone segment is that you feel great. Your heart rate's doing well, your legs are well taken care of. So the rest of it is just truly telling your body, yeah, we're still moving, but I'm not making you do any work at the end here. But you guys did a fantastic ride today. It was fairly dynamic, so I felt like I was jumping from one interval to the next and keeping things fresh for you guys. But you did absolutely awesome. The build that you got from this VO2 max workout was time with that elevated heart rate, elevated effort, whether that was in your cardio system or through your legs and for your muscles, between our slower seated climbs and our standing climbs. And like I mentioned, great for kind of shorter bursts of effort that you might do either to get up a hill or to pass somebody on a ride, or if you're not even typically a biker, for any of your other sports, getting kind of a quick, high effort intensity out when you need it, when you want it. We also did some of that tempo zone 3 work that kind of kept our heart rate elevated and still built us up, but it wasn't that higher level effort. And so we got to use that as our in-between, still doing work, still getting stronger, even though it was more or less a recovery from VO2 max. And then that endurance effort at the very end, extended time in the seat, but letting our bodies bring it down from those elevated efforts. So I hope you guys feel like you got a good ride in today. Still spending just a few minutes here on the bike. If you want, you can do stretches on the bike. I've talked about this occasionally in other videos, but kind of giving your arms and shoulders that break, stretching out wide, pulling your arms down behind your back, and even across your body, or a tricep stretch for right under the arms. If you didn't notice it over the course of an hour, I promise you that over a several hour long ride, that effort does catch up to your upper body. So sharing the love there is always helpful. And then there are a few stretches that you can do for your legs on the bike as well. Once you're done spinning, you can offset each foot so that they're level with each other. Stretch your hips towards the front of the bike, and then pushing your hips towards the back, doing a forward fold, which will stretch your hips, your lower back, your hamstrings, and your calves, all while you're on the bike. And then some of the more basic stretches as well off the bike, like a quad stretch. If you have something that you want to prop your heel up on, or the front of your foot up on to get that calf stretch. And then figure 4 is great as well. You can either do that on the floor, or if you're standing, one foot's on the ground, the other foot is kind of crossed over, and you sit back into that so your hips, the outer hip, gets a good stretch there. Otherwise, just taking good care of yourself. You guys showed up for this hour, put in the really hard work, and so the rest of it is just taking care of your body when it's off the bike. But you did do fantastic work today. Just wrapping up the last few seconds here, giving ourselves that proper time just before you jump off the bike. But if there's anything that you have questions about or would like to see, or ideas for future videos, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Always love hearing from you guys. But aside from that, I hope you have a great day, whether it's morning, middle of the day, nighttime, weekday, weekend. And I'll hope to see you guys next time. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for riding with me today. If you liked today's video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and save it to a collection for next time. If you'd like to see more of these, subscribe and get alerted to new videos. And if there are any workouts that you'd like to see, comment them down below. I hope you guys had a fantastic ride, and I'll see you next time.